following 1997 was always going to be tough. However, 1998, it gives it a fair old crack. It's like Spider-Man Far From Home having to follow Avengers Endgame, New Order having to follow Joy Division, Blackadder the Third having to follow Blackadder the Second. You're not quite as good, but you're pretty spectacular in your own right. 1998 is still one of the best years in gaming history, and that's only good news. That means this video will be watchable save for my smug voice. So, 1998 then. It's a banner year for the games industry, but let's quickly throw our corneas at the world and what was happening there. It enhances that nostalgia gland, you see, makes it stand tall and proud before we plunge it into the moist surroundings of gaming goodness splutch. DVDs came to Europe. That's good, isn't it? No more obviously worn tracking lines during the sex scenes and movies that your mum finds, so no more looking at that bearded clam of Sharon Stone being the thing that catches you out. No more having to rewind, and you can even look at your own stupid face in the DVD disc. Can you do that on a VHS? No sir, you cannot. Construction also began on the Millennium Dome in London, which was planned to open on the Millennium. It's now known obviously as the O2. It's a big old tent, isn't it? Blue Peter presenters Katie Hill and Richard Bacon, where they buried some old toot in the foundations with plans for someone to dig it up in 2050. No one will care or remember, guys. Humanity's final survivors will be fighting for the last drops of water during the 60-degree scorching summers. Don't worry about it. Go and dig it up now. You might be able to sell some of it on eBay. Go on, Richard Bacon, you can buy some cocaine with that. And finally, because I always bring football into it, because I'm a big football nerd, the 1998 World Cup kicked off. Hosts France won it. England got knocked out and hated David Beckham for a couple of years before we realised you can't really hate attractive people for too long. And we all saw Michael Owen score an amazing goal and thought we had the new Pele, except he wasn't, because that would be Rooney in 2003, except he wasn't either, because England are just horrendously disappointing time and again. Because we don't deserve good players. Still, it's not all bad. This was Scotland's last appearance at any sort of soccer finals, and it was so long ago that people still love most of the Star Wars movies. Christ. In games, Sega said farewell to the maligned Saturn, which is a bit of a shame because it was a good console, in preparation for the Japanese launch of the Dreamcast, which is a better console, and Nintendo decided to tart up its poor old baby Game Boy with the Gameboy Color, which annoyingly for us Angletarians was spelt in the American manner. It was a bit more colourful than the old Green Cheeks original, but it's like a half-hearted colouring in effort from a bored 4-year-old in his colouring in book of Marvel characters than a true evolution into colour. We would have to wait another few years and a new millennium before we would get the true successor to the Game Boy. You know I'm talking about the Game Boy Advance, don't you? Oh, and Take-Two Interactive formed a label called Rockstar Games. I think they had a couple of hits here and there. For a game to feature on my Best of the Year list, it has to have come out on its original format in that particular year. So for instance, I couldn't have chosen Street Fighter 2 on the Super Nintendo because it had come out in the arcades a few years before. However, if a game is sufficiently different, such as the NES version of Double Dragon, then I can include that, as it's not that similar to Double Dragon in the arcades. Capiche? It just about makes sense to me. It probably won't make sense to any of you, but I'm sticking with these rules, even though I'll probably break them later on. I'm not very consistent. Baldurs Gate, more like Baldurs Great, taking place in the Dungeons and Dragons world of the Forgotten Realms, Baldurs Gate was an early indicator of the excellence that was to come from the BioWare team. With Neverwinter Nights, Dragon Age, Mass Effect and Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic franchises all coming from those bad boys. A top-down isometric RPG in a huge scale that introduced the Infinity Engine, a splendid pre-rendered backdrops and an intuitive control interface. The game reinvigorated the PC roleplay scene. Rich in depth and customization, Baldurs Gate is a quest you'll want to take. I promise you will. Go and take it. I said Baldurs a minute ago and meant Baldurs. Sorry. FZero made an enormous impact when it debuted in the Super Nintendo's launch month, way back in 1991. Then it peaced out and vanished triumphantly into the ether, letting Mario Kart, Daytona, Sega Rally, all those other racing games like Ridge Racer, and of course its future racing stablemate Wipeout take its crown and say, "This is our yard now, F-Zero." But then 1 generation and 7 years later, F-Zero came back with FZero X, and it duly conquered once more. Yes, it wasn't as cool as the Wipeout franchise with their Designer Republic frippery and their Chemical Brothers soundtracks, but it was just as playable and fast, or maybe even more so. While lacking a bit of graphical fidelity, the smooth frame rate more than made up for that, and made FZero X a truly triumphant return. And it never went away again, did it? Oh, LucasArts were the undoubted kings of the point-and-click adventure, and this time they've brought 3D polygonal sprites, a film noir plotline, a Mexican Day of the Dead skeletons, and they've blended them together into a big old gorgeous ghoulish goulash. Lead human scaffold Manny Calavera is a travel agent who is on a mission to save the kindly, virtuous soul of Mercedes Colomar, a eminently bangable bone framework in an epic spanning 4 game years. High production values and a wonderful romantic tale combine to make for the absolute peak of LucasArts output from a quality point of view. Is it as good as some of the Monkey Islands and Day of the Tentacle? If it isn't, it's not bloody far away. Go and play it now, you. Go on, off you pop. Truly, the 90s were the golden era of Star Wars games. And while the 16-bit Super Star Wars series are good platform titles generally, if a little bit hard, and the previous year's Shadows of the Empire was a competent entry, the real Star Wars quality was on the machines that had keyboards rather than controllers. The Dark Forces, and particularly the X-Wing franchises, were a cut above the console titles. Does Rogue Squadron readdress that balance? Well, no, but it gets closer than the others for sure, and it's nice to have a very good exclusively spaceship battle Star Wars game in our cartridge slot, seeing as it's called Star Wars and not Laser Sword Battles or Planet Wars. Yes, it's no X-Wing versus TIE Fighter, but it is an excellent arcade-style filmic Star Wars blast 'em up, and as a franchise opener, it's far from bantha fodder. Good old Tenchu. The stealth genre was definitely given a kickstart in the late 1990s, as we will see again a little later on. A third-person ninja 'em up that rewards the most silent players for their light-footed stealth with unlockable items. Tenchu sees protagonist Rikimaru and Ayame sent to assassinate a series of warlords in the blackness of night. Now this, of course, is because they're ninjas, but also it helps out the PS1 with its technical limitations. Clever, clever. Using caltrops, shurikens, blow darts and all manner of ninjutsu assassinary, we have here a very open murder 'em up, which I dare say had an effect on stuff like Hitman and other titles as well, along with, of course, fellow 1998 game Thief. As good as Thief was, this game was always my jam. Tenchu is a wonderfully paced gem of a game. Try not to get in battles though, those bastards will kick your bum from here to Tokyo. Now this game was just silly. Technically speaking, the version I played was the European release that came out in 2000, which was a big old super compilation greatest hits of 5 different Bishi Bashi games that had come out in the 2 years prior. But do you know what? I made the silly rules that I did, and I'm not leaving this out. So Bishi Bashi Special originally came out in 1998, god damn it, and it's going in here. The game is bonkers. Warioware, before Warioware was even a thing. A huge collection of ridiculous minigames that you have to understand in seconds, and you will understand in seconds, as you'll be playing them for just a little while longer than the instruction screen is up. And when it's done, you move on to the next. From hurling wedding cakes to eating to making a pencil lead fly out, it's an uproariously hilarious assault on your senses. Ridiculous fun, a mini-game treat. Go play it. Resident Evil 2. 2 months on from the events of the original game, and all is not right in Raccoon City. The old T-virus, you see, has been a bit leaky, and it's left the Umbrella Laboratory and gone for a bit of a jaunt in the city itself, turning the population into a horde of undead idiots who eat human flesh instead of nice things like grapes, crisps, Wagamamas and wagon wheels. With a new setting, cast, improved voice acting and a longer quest, Resident Evil 2 takes the original, makes it bigger and indeed better, winning unanimous praise across the board, across all the magazines, and all the fans love it too. And you know what? If it's good enough for Tim Bisley in Spaced, it's certainly good enough for me, but I won't be punching anyone called Volva because I've been playing it too long. HalfLife. In a lot of the 90s videos I've covered a fair amount of those first-person shoot-'em-up games, haven't I? And for the most part, I've praised them for their innovation. For these are truly the Wild West days of the most popular genre in the world. Few were as influential, though, as that of this, Valve's debut, Half-Life. Cutscenes, the game literally cutting out to show you a story moving sequence, sometimes with crap, full motion video. Well, there's none of that here. You have near uninterrupted control of the nerdish protagonist Gordon Freeman as you witness the scripted cinematic sequences through his very own eyes, creating a truly immersive experience with a large game world instead of levels, adding to the rich experience. It's a game, it's an adventure, it's an experience. That's definitely the word. Puzzles, which would later become the main part of Valve's iconic Portal, and an exciting B-movie, pan-dimensional sci-fi plot, complete a true genre pusher. It's enormously influential. Half-Life is the third best game of the year in my opinion. You might think it's the first. This could end up being quite a controversial pick, as this is widely cited as not just being the greatest game of 1998, but the greatest game of all time. It's the highest rated game on Metacritic and the second on game rankings. So why is it second here? Well, because it is. It's still incredible. It's number 2, for heaven's sake. But yes, I've put it at number 2 because I didn't like it as much as the first. Makes sense? The 5th title in the Zelda series, Ocarina of Time, took the genre into the 3rd dimension in its graphics and its lead character, Link, into a time-twisting adventure. Link uses melodies played on his eponymous ocarina to solve numerous puzzles, including the ability to travel through time itself, so Link can move his consciousness in both a child and an adult version of himself. Optional side quests, impressive graphical feats, level design, music and just all-round design were as close to flawless as games got in 1998, and the epic quest of Link is a stunning example of Nintendo Japan firing on all cylinders, but it's not my number one game. My number one game is Metal Gear Solid. I don't think a game ever surprised me as much as Metal Gear Solid. I don't think I've ever gone, that's clever, as much as when I played this title for the very first time. It's probably that innovation in Metal Gear Solid that's nudged it just a little bit ahead of Ocarina of Time in my eyes. That and I was a PlayStation fanboy. Yeah, Hideo Kojima can go a little over the top with narrative-led cutscenes, particularly in the year Half-Life debuted, but his scene setting and the depth he gave his characters are part of why it works so well. The stealth mechanics are brilliantly tight and defined, and the combat is quite effective when you have to do it. But it's the clever moments that really make Metal Gear Solid. You can fool the many balaclavaed goofballs simply enough if you're stealthy enough. A super spy will have no problem with them. But the bosses, they're smart. Sometimes smarter than you. It is the sequences like this that are truly astonishing. From making you look at the game box, and by game box I mean the game box in the real world, to making you figure out just how the hell you're going to beat a character that reads your mind. How exactly do you know that I like Symphony of the Night, Psycho Mantis? With a very fourth wall breaking solution, your first playthrough of Metal Gear Solid, your first view into Kojima's genius mind, it is truly amazing and a clap-worthy experience. An important game to me, and that is why it's my number one, despite very stiff competition from one of the strongest yearly top fives I've covered yet. And oh my days, we've nearly run out of 1990s years. We've just got one left, and then I can retire this series to its little cardboard box like a tortoise for another winter, and then I can bring it back out again and we can start covering the 2000s. But there's still one left to go. 1999. How good is that year? Not as good as the previous two, but there's still some classics to be found. See you then. Okay, thanks, bye.